Okay, in this video we're going to look at activity number 4 and a quick discussion or learn about what we call limiting an excess reactant. So in the previous activity, in number 3, we looked at a definition called theoretical yield. And a theoretical yield is basically what answer you get when you're doing a stoichiometry problem. So for example, this is the work for part 4, question number 1, the reaction 2 and 3, the stoichiometry is being asked to be done. In both of these stoichiometry problems, this answer that I have for each one, so the 23.687 grams of sucrose and the 29.947 grams of sucrose, those are the theoretical yield based on the question that's being asked, because we're starting with a reactant and we're saying 36.542 grams of carbon dioxide can make, theoretically, 23.687 grams of sucrose. The same is true for the second question. If I have 17.340 grams of water, I theoretically can make 29.947 grams of sucrose. Now, what if we were to take a container and I say, I put this much 36.542 grams of carbon dioxide and I put 17.34 grams of water into a container and I make them react. And I make them react to form sucrose. We're also going to form oxygen, but we're focused on the sucrose. Well, based on our calculations, we can see that the carbon dioxide, this amount of carbon dioxide, is going to make this amount of sucrose. It's going to be reacting with the water, but the water could make 29.947. Now, some people would say, well, you just add those two together. No. We don't add those together. What we're saying is that if carbon dioxide is going to react, it's going to react with the water, and as it reacts, it will make 23.687. And when it reacts and makes 23.687 grams of sucrose, we have used all of our carbon dioxide up. We have then, in that reaction, all of the carbon dioxide used up. Now, the water, if we look at a different direction, the water is going to react with the carbon dioxide. And water is going to react, and it would stop reacting once it made 29.947 grams. But here's the problem. Our reaction stops when one of the compounds runs out. And our reaction is going to stop when we make 23.687 grams. Why? Because carbon dioxide can only make that amount of sucrose. Now, the water can make this amount. Water can make more. The problem is the reaction is going to stop when you run out of a compound. So when we're presented with problems where we have both reactants given and we're asked how much product will be produced, we need to find what's called a limiting and an excess reactant. Because this compound, the carbon dioxide, limits the amount of sucrose that we can make. It is called the limiting reactant. This compound, the water, in this instance, is going to be the excess reactant. Because when this reaction is done, it stops when this amount of water is produced. We will have, that amount of sucrose is produced. We would have this amount of water. It could make 29 grams, but it can't. It's limited to making 23 grams. So we will have some water left over. That's called an excess reactant. So this illustrates, by looking at both of these problems, we solve for the same compound. So if I had a situation where I've got both of my reactants given, and I'm asked how much of a product is going to be produced, in this case the sucrose, we do two problems. We find out how much can each of these reactants form. And whichever forms the least amount of product, in this case the carbon dioxide, that identifies and basically sets our definitions. Since this produces the least amount of product, this is called the limiting reactant. This then is going to be the excess reactant. And this value right here is what we would call our theoretical yield. Because that's the amount of sucrose that would be made, not this. And you never add those two together.